Shaikh from Pakistan. I'm the Development Director at Family Educational Services Foundation, and I head the Deaf Reach program, which facilitates deaf education and skills training across the country.
Could you tell me a bit more about your organization and how you became involved?
I've known this organization for the past 2 decades. I'm amazed as I was thinking over um, my alliance with them and association. I met them around 20 years ago when I started off in my career. And I'm happy to say that 10 years ago, I shifted from the corporate sector into the development sector with a special focus on education and product development for education resources. And that's how I became associated with FESL under their flagship program called the Deaf Reach program.
So, what are your current uses of technology, and how have these or other technologies have had to change because of COVID-19?
Our main cultivating ground for educational products, technology, and resource development is in the city of Karachi, which is a port city. And from there, we service the entire branch network. And Deaf Reach forms the only branch network of schools in Pakistan. So our learning methodology is heavily dependent on technology in that we believe that every child has to have access in their native language, which is Pakistan Sign Language. And sign language is not an oral or written means of communication. It's visual. So we've used computers, internet, all sorts of visual media and apps, resources that we've developed ourselves to train not only our teachers in the main hub school, but across the network. And then these have been transferred to private and public schools, government schools over the years. So we're very heavily using, say, digital technology, which would be dependent on hardware like computers and internet, and software or visual mediums like developing curricular resources in digital format.
In addition to those technologies, how do you see the future sort of expanding, post-COVID and maybe even during COVID?
I think what we've seen now is a big shift towards online learning or visual learning. Earlier, if I had floated the idea of giving a child a laptop in the middle of the peri-urban or rural areas in Pakistan, people might have wondered, what's the efficacy of doing so? But with the school closures and the gap in education loss that we're looking at, we have sort of implemented a distance learning program whereby we've digitized curricular resources and we're sharing it with the students. They come in as frequently as possible given the lockdown situation and on-ground circumstances, but they provided teacher support, guidance, and they're learning at home. So till the students can't really come back to school, we'll continue with our distance learning program. And as a result, we found out that our years and years of training the children in touch typing, how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, different programs, accessing a computer really, even in the rural areas, has paid off big time because now we have their parental support and engagement, and we're able to bring in our students, give them their material for the monthly review, and they can come back with their assessments and assignments completed. So at some level, while they're at a distance, they still continue to learn through the use of technology.
No, that's great. And it's especially important to have that parental support and community buy-in. It's great to have the infrastructure that you guys have put in place, but I'm imagining that community buy-in is so important. So DeafReach was selected as one of EdTech Hub's sandboxes. You're currently moving through that process. Can you describe a bit about what's going on, how that interaction has been, and what are you hoping for at the conclusion and looking forward after that collaboration with EdTech Hub?
For us, the sandbox came at just the perfect time because we had a concept and an idea that we put forward to donor organizations and secured funding for the distance learning program. But we really wanted also room to iterate and learn what the best practices are, what the pitfalls could be, and the challenges. So having this association with Sandbox at this time allowed us to do just that. So we've just come out of our first sprint where we had picked up a smaller population of 250 students out of our original 1,200 pool, and we had provided them literacy tools. So as a result, we found out that we do have parental buy-in, how the devices are working, what it will require to allow students to continue learning through the year. And some very interesting findings have been published by the Sandbox already on the outcome of Sprint 1. We are currently rolling out Sprint 2, which involves providing curricular resources in multiple subjects to students from primary all the way through secondary grades. So, of course, the demographic profile has expanded, the cities have expanded, the number of staff engaged, and we're looking at what are the big wins really in this iteration.
That's great. And I've been following the sandboxes with great interest, and I'm looking forward to seeing what data and reports come out of that experience that you've had. So a quick question for you. If funding wasn't a barrier, are there any specific technologies or applications that you'd like to see developed to support the program and support the population that you're currently serving?
Absolutely. I think I see our school system as a technology driven experimental ground that has basic concepts in place, but we're serving the community that is immediately in connect with us. I would like to invest my time and energy in developing an app where children have access to all sorts of digital curriculum resources in their native language, which is Pakistan Sign Language. If I wanted to learn how to make a cake or to study the theorems or algebra, I can go on YouTube and find something that resonates with me in my native language, which could be Urdu or could be my second language, English. But for a deaf child to access something in their own language at their grade level is substantially harder. So maybe an investment in an app that would allow us to sort of host all our primary, pre-K, and secondary education material, but also that's within reach for children and their parents. So multiple layers, multiple language selections, and I think that's where the future is headed because this would be a solution that doesn't just serve Pakistan. It could also be exported to other developing countries. But when we also look at our own country, it doesn't have to just serve our own Deaf Reach program. It can service the 1 million kids who are of school going age, yet they're deaf and they're out of school in Pakistan.
I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and hearing great things about your work. We really appreciate the things that you're doing. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you for having me over. It's good to have a voice and to bring across something amazing from this part of the world. Thank you.